Welcome. Earlier we explored how to set up a test in Blackboard. Oftentimes you may want to set up a test using a pool of questions instead of manually entering one question at a time. As an instructor, you could create the question pool, but it is quite likely that you will use the pool of questions that are provided by the textbook publisher. So the question is, what are test pools? So test pools are a set of different types of questions associated with a course. Most often, you will see these questions linked to a specific chapter. For example, you may have 12 questions in the pool for chapter 1, and of those 12 questions, 7 are short answer questions and the rest are multiple choice questions. Once you have imported the questions into Blackboard, you can select which questions to include in your test. You can also randomly select a specific number of questions. For example, you may indicate that you want 5 questions selected from this pool of questions. Alternately, you may say that I want 3 questions selected from the short answer questions and 2 questions selected from the multiple choice questions. And these questions will be selected randomly from this pool. To incorporate the use of test item pools in Blackboard, you would first download the item pool for Blackboard from the publisher's website. We need to make sure we download the file that will work with Blackboard, which is our learning management system. Next, we import the pool into our course, and then we set up the test using the items from the pool. Finally, once the test has been set up, it is always a good idea to use the student preview mode to take the test and make sure that it is working as expected. And before we end, a word of caution. When using tests, especially tests with objective type questions, plagiarism could be a serious and a real issue. However careful publishers are with protecting the integrity of the test pools, it is quite likely that these questions and the correct responses can be found online. And while it would be difficult to take steps that will completely eliminate any chance of plagiarism, we can take steps that mitigate or reduce the chances. So here are a few options to consider when setting up tests. Modify the test question. Any imported test question can be modified in terms of wording, the correct answer, and so on. Second, use timed tests. So if you have a limited amount of time that you're allowing for students to take the test, it may reduce the chance of plagiarism. Start off by limiting the number of attempts to 1. Next, randomize. We can randomize in multiple ways. You can randomize the order in which the questions are presented. You can also randomly select questions so all students will not have the same questions. And you can also randomize the order in which the options for multiple choice questions are presented. Another good practice is to present one question at a time. Responder's lockdown browser could be a good deterrent to plagiarism. It will lock down the browser in such a way that the students will not be able to access any other online resources. And if the test warrants it, you can also use Responder's Monitor. The Responder's Monitor will use the lockdown browser, but in addition, it will track the students' movements, activities, and so on while they are taking the test through the activation of the camera. Keep in mind that the use of Responder's lockdown browser or Responder's Monitor will require that the student download the browser and work through several steps in order to take the test.